Hello, my name's Shelley, for those of you who don't know, and God, this is totally out of my comfort zone doing a video like this. I absolutely hate public speaking, although there's nobody in front of me, but yeah, don't like videos and things. But I thought, given that it is Mental Health Awareness Week, and I have mental ill health, I thought I'd like to do a video to sort of highlight the condition that I have, because it's certainly something I'd never heard of before I got diagnosed with it. And from kind of talking to friends, family, and even a couple of people in the medical profession, not everybody knows about it. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit and hope that, not sort of as a sympathy thing, I just wanted to highlight sort of symptoms that I've got, and the treatment I'm having, and hope that maybe if a couple of people feel they've got similar symptoms and haven't reached out for help, that maybe they will do. So anyway, there was a lot of ums there as well. I got diagnosed back in March, so very, very recently, with a condition called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD as it's abbreviated to. And in its simplest form, or an explanation of what it is severe PMS. So it's all linked to my monthly cycle, and the cause, from stuff I've read, is potentially a sensitivity to the sort of hormonal changes that go on in your monthly cycle. I think I've probably been suffering with this for a few years, possibly since I had my first child, Albie, in 2016. He's nearly 5, or will be at the end of the year. And I didn't really recognise that's what it was. I've had sort of depression and anxiety and things, but certainly didn't know it was this, and I've heard of it before. And then at the beginning of last year, in January 2020, had my second child, Mabel, and obviously we went into a pandemic, and for most people it's quite an awful year last year, and I actually got diagnosed with postnatal depression. And although I had some of the symptoms of postnatal depression, I never really felt that's what I had. I didn't have it with my first, and I felt something was off, but I didn't necessarily think it was that. I did CBT, online CBT, because a lot of the sort of counselling services and things obviously weren't in-face counselling, weren't working last year. And I still didn't feel that things were necessarily getting better, and they sort of came to a head at the start of this year. And yeah, my sort of mental health was at its lowest point. And the only way I can describe it, or probably the best way of describing it, is on the 27th of February was probably the lowest point I've ever had. And for some reason on that day, I decided to note on my phone a list of, how I was feeling. I basically wrote at the top of it. I've written down here off my phone, because I'm using my phone now, so I can read them out, and perhaps people will be able to sort of relate to this, and they might have had similar symptoms. So I just go through it very quickly. As I said, it's not, I don't want sympathy for this. It's not the reason for doing this. If I can highlight the condition to other people and perhaps they can seek help on the back of this, that would be amazing. So anyway, back to this. So I wrote how I felt on the 27th of February. I need to put my teeth back in. And this is the list. Deeply depressed, out of control, memory lost, foggy head, poor concentration, overeating, terrible mood swings, irrational. Probably the worst thing I was having was suicidal thoughts, irritable, zombie-like state, embarrassed, weak, anxious, sensitive, pathetic, worthless, lethargic. Sorry, this list is quite long. I was having an awful day. Selfish, lazy, frustrated, self-destruct, impatient, snappy, angry, rage, just wanting to stay in bed, overwhelmed, isolated, exhausted, heavy, low confidence, alone, having headaches, terrible skin, itchy, fat, ugly, lost, lonely, no identity, didn't know who I was, jealous, achy, not wanting to communicate, socialise, claustrophobic, don't want to be here, shit mum, wife, sister, daughter, friend. And that's basically a list of how I was feeling on that particular day. And that is the worst it's been during my PMDD. And things came to a head, and actually it was my husband Dean who said, look, I don't think this is something that's happening all the time. It seems to be every few weeks I was having these symptoms and feeling this way. So did a bit of research on the internet and found PMDD. And if anybody wants to find out more about it, if you go on the Mind website, it is brilliant for probably a better explanation than I'm giving, but brilliant for explaining what PMDD is. And there's a couple of quotes from women who are suffering it, and one lady said it, and I completely can relate to this, is basically like you press the self-destruct button every month and your whole world kind of explodes. And then as soon as, well, for me, as soon as I get my period, it's almost like Shelley has been restored to her body, and I feel back to normal and I feel me again. And but then obviously then spend the next few weeks picking the pieces up of the self-destruction, only for then to happen the next month. So yeah, it's pretty debilitating, and I don't think I really recognised that anything was going on, or that I needed to seek help, because of course the symptoms only last for sort of a week before my period and then go back to normal. So kind of every month was like, oh well, I'm fine and don't really need help, but obviously that's not the case. And also one of the things I found is I have very bad eczema flare-ups as well, which I suppose goes in hand because everything, I'm stressed out, and that's often a cause of eczema. I've still got a little bit on my face at the moment from the last period. Anyway, I digress. So I sought help, and I'm very lucky that we have an excellent mental health nurse at my GP's practice. And one of the things I've started on straight away is a course of antidepressants. I'm on sertraline because I'm still breastfeeding my baby, and that was the one that was suitable for me. And even just, I don't know whether it's a placebo effect, but even just being prescribed those has helped immensely certainly with my mental health symptoms. It's very, very early days. I only started them a few weeks ago, so things are still going on. But one of the other reasons why I wanted to highlight this is my skin flares up, and I've noticed that it is, since the PMDD diagnosis, I can see that it is in line with that. And I was under am under a dermatologist for my skin, and so I went back to him last week after my skin had flared up quite badly, to speak to him about the PMDD, because I hadn't had that diagnosis, didn't even think about it being related until quite recently. And his reaction was quite surprising, and I suppose it just highlights that there is still a stigma around mental health. He didn't know what PMDD is, and that's fine. I don't expect him to know every sort of medical condition going, especially as he is a skin specialist. But when I explained that it was severe PMS, he responded by saying, "Oh, so you get moody every month like everybody?" And for those of you who have mental health illness, you might relate to this. I certainly, for one, because it's not a physical ailment, I'm very conscious that I feel that perhaps not everybody believes that you've got a condition or that it exists. So for a doctor to sort of be quite dismissive and insensitive kind of compounded those feelings. And yeah, it was really upsetting when I got home. I think Dean thought somebody had died because I was in floods of tears. So even more so, I want to highlight this. It's not just getting moody every month. It is really debilitating. It is life-changing. It is impactful on sort of every element of daily life, and it's certainly had an impact on my husband and my children, and that gets me really upset and just makes me want to get better. And thank goodness that I have a huge support network, and yeah, I just hope other people who have these symptoms and didn't know about PMDD, perhaps can relate to this now and go and have a look at it. As I say, the Mind website is amazing. Also, Facebook has support groups. If you just type PMDD in the search, I've joined quite a few of them, and there are so many people who have this condition, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but it is also nice to hear from people who can kind of understand what's going on, and relate to it, and have sort of sympathy with and empathy. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I've waffled on for long enough now. If anybody wants any more information, or you want to talk, or you want to message, please just DM me. If I find any other cures or hacks for helping this, exercise is one thing that I think everybody will say about mental health, and getting out in the fresh air, given that nature is the theme of mental health week this week. Yeah, get out and get some fresh air. Don't do it nearly enough. And yeah, that's it. Enough of my waffling. Before I go, sorry, I just wanted to say, Scamp and Dude, if people have not heard of them, go on their website, because my Scamp and Dude dress arrived today and I bloody love it. This will probably be what I'm wearing for the whole of the summer and beyond. Anyway, have a good Friday, everybody, and happy Mental Health Awareness Week. Your mind is very important. Look after your bodies.